Reflection by abiding in the present moment. This ninth kind of reflection, of dwelling in the moment, or reflection with present phenomena as its focus of attention, is simply another aspect of other forms of reflection. One can say that it is combined with or encompasses the previous 8 kinds of reflection. The reason for distinguishing it, however, is that it has a unique importance and has some attributes requiring special understanding. The gist of this kind of reflection is contained and outlined in the teaching on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which will be discussed in the section on the 7th factor of the Eightfold Path, right mindfulness. The reason for including this kind of reflection here is that there is a distinct focus in these 2 contexts. The description within the 4 foundations of mindfulness focuses on the establishment of mindfulness by bearing in mind and being fully awake to things as they arise and exist, to the process of cognition, and to one's present activities in every moment. In this context of wise reflection, however, the focus is on the application and content of thought, which is focused on by mindfulness. The point requiring special attention in regard to this kind of reflection is the misunderstanding about the true meaning of abiding in the present moment. That is, some people believe that Buddhism teaches to only think about things existing in the immediate present. It dissuades people from thinking about the past or the future, or from planning for future events. Practitioners who have this misunderstanding will stray from Buddhist principles, and non-Buddhists who have this understanding will focus on the harmful consequences they believe Buddhism causes for its followers. The important points to understand concerning the past, the present, and the future in relation to this 9th kind of wise reflection are as follows. In short, thinking that is not grounded in the present moment, thinking caught up in the past, or drifting off into the future, follows the direction of and is subject to craving. It follows one's feelings, or in modern parlance, it falls under the sway of one's emotions. In this case, one hankers after and longs for those things that have passed one by, because of an attachment to or a lingering over a mental image or memory, or one drifts off into abstract thoughts and fantasies of things that may or may not take place in the future, because one feels stifled, frustrated, and discontent with the conditions one faces and wants to escape from in the present. Thinking that remains in the present moment, on the other hand, follows the direction of knowledge or is subject to the power of wisdom. If one is able to think in this way, regardless of whether one's thoughts are of present, past, or future events, they're still classified as an abiding in the present. It is clear that in Buddhism, wise consideration of the past, present, and future at every stage of practice is both vital and correct. This is true for the stage of everyday practice, like learning from lessons experienced in the past and being careful to prevent danger in the future, up to the stage of realizing the truth. And it is even an aspect of the Buddha's activities in which he applied, say, the knowledge of recollection of past lives, be ni wa sanu sati yana, knowledge of the past, ati tamsa yana, and knowledge of the future, na ga tamsa yana. The true meanings of the terms past, present, and future in the Buddhist teachings, in the context of spiritual training, are not the same as how people generally understand these terms. People's general concept of the term present encompasses a rather broad and indistinct period of time. In the context of Buddhist spiritual practice, however, the present refers to a single immediate moment of time. On a deeper level, to dwell or to live in the present refers to being mindful, to remain fully attentive to that which one is experiencing or doing in each and every moment. If one cognizes something and either pleasure or aversion arises, one then gets stuck at and revolves around the mental image of that thing which one has created in one's mind. One thus falls into the past, does not keep abreast of things that they really are, as they really are, and slips away from the present moment. Alternatively, if one falls away from the present and begins to fantasize about things that have not yet come to pass, based on an attachment to specific mental images, then one drifts off into the future. For this reason, the past and the future, as defined in the Buddhist teachings, may be a part of the general worldly understanding of the term present. Here we see one important aspect of the way in which the present is defined in the Buddhist teachings. The focus is not so much on events in the world or on external phenomena, but rather on those things with which one is immediately engaged. For this reason, those things that are considered to be the past or the future, according to people's general understanding, may in the Buddhist context refer to the present, just as people's general concepts of the present may in the Buddhist context refer to the past or future, as mentioned above. In Buddhism, the present pertains to one's involvement and association with things, which requires an understanding and an engaged response, and which in a wider sense extends to one's daily life practice. In relation to thinking, the present encompasses all events that are linked to one's immediate experience and current considerations, to those things which one is engaged with, which require some form of active response or which are connected to one's spiritual practice. This is very different from muddled, incoherent, aimless, or abstract thoughts connected to pleasing or displeasing sense objects, or from getting caught up in pleasure and aversion. These descriptions of the past, present, and future are made clear in the following teachings by the Buddha. The teachings by the Buddha about neither dwelling in the past nor fantasizing about the future help to sever such errant thoughts by encouraging one to stay attentive to those things that truly exist while one is engaged in one's activities, as is evident from the following canonical passages. Let one not hanker after the past, nor build one's hopes on the future, for the past has been left behind, and the future has not been reached. One who has insight into each presently arisen state, that which is certain and unshakable, knows clearly and acts accordingly. Today the effort must be made, tomorrow death may come, who knows? There is no reprieve from the great Commander-in-Chief, the Lord of Death. One who dwells thus ardently, not idle by day and by night. Such a person the peaceful sage has called one who prospers each and every day. Those who have realized the Dhamma do not sorrow over the past, nor do they fantasize about the future. They maintain themselves with what is present, hence their complexion is so bright. As for fools, by fantasizing about the future, by mourning over the past, they grow pale and dreary, like a fresh reed cut down and left in the sun. Note the mental attitude in respect to time of someone who is not subject to craving, as described in these preceding sutta passages, and compare this with a wise engagement with the future, as described in the passages below. These include teachings on the everyday life of laypeople, as well as on the duties of the bhikkhus. They include both personal and social responsibilities. Doubt that which is doubtful, prevent danger that has not yet come to pass. A wise person investigates both worlds because he considers future danger. One should never give up hope. A wise person should not become discouraged. I have clearly witnessed for myself that whatever I have wished for, I have obtained to satisfaction. Complete your activities with heedfulness. Here is an example of how the monks should take the future into account when performing their individual duties. When a monk discerns the following 5 future dangers, he should indeed dwell with heedfulness, make effort, and dedicate himself resolutely in order to attain the unattained, to accomplish the unaccomplished, to realize the unrealized. Which 5? Here a monk considers in this way: I am now young, a black-haired young man endowed with the blessing of youth, in the prime of life. But there will come a time when old age assails this body. Now, when one is old, overcome by old age, it is not easy to attend to the Buddha's teachings. It is not easy to resort to remote lodgings in forests and jungle groves. Indeed, before this undesirable, unpleasant, and unsatisfactory condition comes upon me, may I hasten to rouse energy in order to attain the unattained. When I have fulfilled this task, I will dwell at ease, even though I am old. Again, a monk reflects thus: I am now seldom ill or afflicted. I possess an even metabolism and digestion that is neither too cool nor too hot, but moderate and suitable for striving. But there will come a time when illness assails this body. May I hasten to rouse energy. I will dwell at ease, even though I am ill. Again, a monk reflects thus: food is now plentiful and alms food is abundant, so that one can easily subsist by going on alms round. But there will come a time of famine, a poor harvest, when alms food is hard to obtain, and one cannot easily subsist by going on alms round. People will migrate from a place of famine to places where food is plentiful, and the monasteries there will be crowded and congested. When living conditions are crowded and congested, it is not easy to attend to the Buddha's teachings. It is not easy to resort to remote lodgings in forests and jungle groves. Indeed, may I hasten to rouse energy. I will dwell at ease, even in a famine. Again, a monk reflects thus: people are now dwelling in harmony, living together happily, without disputes, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with eyes of affection. But there will come a time of peril, of disturbance and revolt in the frontiers, when the people of the countryside, mounted on their vehicles, flee on all sides. in a time of peril, people migrate to places of safety, and living conditions there will be crowded and congested. May I hasten to rouse energy. I will dwell at ease even in times of peril. Again, a monk reflects thus: the Sangha is now dwelling at ease in concord harmoniously without disputes, with a single Patimokkha recitation. But there will come a time when there will be a schism in the Sangha. Now, when there is a schism in the Sangha, it is not easy to attend to the Buddha's teachings. It is not easy to resort to remote lodgings in forests and jungle groves. Indeed, may I hasten to rouse energy. I will dwell at ease, even though there is a schism in the Sangha. Another sutta passage contains a teaching for monks who live in the forest. By considering 5 potential dangers, they should live vigilantly, make effort, and dictate themselves resolutely in order to fulfill the unfulfilled, attain the unattained, and realize the unrealized. They should consider the future thus: I live alone in the forest. I may be bitten by a snake or a centipede, stung by a scorpion, or slip and fall. I may have food poisoning, a disturbance of bile or phlegm, or a severe case of sunstroke. I may encounter a fierce animal like a lion, tiger, or bear. I may meet a malevolent person or non-human being and thus come to harm. I may even be killed due to one of these causes. I should thus rouse energy to reach those states that I have not yet reached. There is a similar teaching by the Buddha on contemplations for safeguarding the future well-being of the community. Monks, there are these 5 future dangers as yet unarisen that will arise in the future. You should recognize them and make an effort to prevent them. What 5? 1. In the future there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. They will give full ordination to others, but will not be able to train them in higher morality, higher mind, and higher wisdom. These pupils, too, will be undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. They in turn will give full ordination to others, but will not be able to train them in higher morality, higher mind, and higher wisdom. These pupils too will be undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. Thus, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline, and from corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. 2. Again, in the future, there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. They will give dependence to others, but will not be able to train them in higher morality, higher mind, and higher wisdom. These pupils too will be undeveloped. Thus, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline, and from corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. 3. Again, in the future, there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. They will recite sermons on the higher doctrine and on catechetical discourses, stumbling into an incorrect Dhamma without being aware of it. Thus, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline, and from corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. 4. Again, in the future there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. When those discourses spoken by the Tathagata are being recited that are profound, deep in meaning, world-transcending, connected with emptiness, they will not listen attentively. They will not lend an ear to them, or apply their minds to understand them. They will not think those teachings should be studied and learned. When those discourses are being recited, that are mere poetry composed by poets, beautiful in words and phrases dealing with external matters spoken by disciples, they will listen attentively, lend an ear to them, and apply their minds to understand them. They will think those teachings should be studied and learned. Thus, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline, and from corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. 5. Again, in the future there will be monks who are undeveloped in body, virtuous conduct, mind, and wisdom. The elder bhikkhus will be greedy and lax, leaders in negligence, discarding the duty of solitude. They will not arouse energy for attaining the unattained, accomplishing the unaccomplished, or realizing the unrealized. Those in the next generation will follow their example. They too will be greedy and lax, leaders in negligence, discarding the duty of solitude. They will not arouse energy. Thus, through corruption of the Dhamma comes corruption of the discipline, and from corruption of the discipline comes corruption of the Dhamma. These monks are the 5 future dangers, as yet unarisen, that will arise in the future. You should recognize them and make an effort to prevent them. The Buddha gave another teaching on the future dangers for the monastic community. Monks, there are these 5 future dangers, as yet unarisen, that will arise in the future. You should recognize them and make an effort to prevent them. What 5? 1. In the future there will be monks who desire fine robes. They will give up the practice of wearing rag robes, give up remote lodgings in forest and jungle groves, and having converged upon the villages, towns, and capital cities, will take up their residence there, and they will engage in many kinds of wrong and improper pursuits for the sake of a robe. 2. Again, in the future there will be monks who desire fine and delicious alms food. Having converged upon the villages, towns, and capital cities, will take up their residence there. Seeking the finest delicacies with the tips of their tongues, they will engage in many kinds of wrong and improper pursuits for the sake of alms food. 3. Again, in the future there will be monks who desire beautiful and extravagant lodgings. They will engage in many kinds of wrong and improper pursuits for the sake of lodgings. 4. Again, in the future there will be monks who consort with bhikkhunis, female probationers, and novices. When they consort in this way, it can be expected that they will live the spiritual life dissatisfied, or give up the training and revert to the household life. 5. Again, in the future there will be monks who fraternize with monastery stewards and novices. When they fraternize in this way, it can be expected that they will engage in the use of various kinds of stored up goods, and give gross hints in regard to the ground and vegetation. These monks are the 5 future dangers as yet unarisen that will arise in the future. You should recognize them and make an effort to prevent them. These aforementioned explanations help to distinguish between thoughts of the past and the future that are subject to craving, that are incoherent and fanciful, are a waste of time and damage the quality of the mind, and those thoughts of the past and future based on wisdom, which are connected to present activities and are supportive to spiritual practice. When one practices according to these principles, one is able to make effective preparations and plans for the future. This is made manifest in the important historical activities of the monastic Sangha. The first recitation, Sanghayana, for example, came about because the monks gave consideration to the future, which was connected to their present responsibilities.